I think it's part 3 of kitchen prep for Pesach. So let's talk about, well, first of all, last video we talked about ovens. I just want to point out that ovens was the one exception, kind of, where you don't actually have to wait 24 hours before koshering it, because anything that you kosher by burning it with fire, like you do with the oven, you don't have to wait 24 hours. But let's talk about stoves now. Stoves got a little iffy because we have all different types of stoves. We have gas stoves, ceramic, and electric. The simplest one is those electric ones that have like a little spiral. You just turn them on high, they turn red. Now they're kosher for Passover. Of course, you have those drip pans below, which get full of gunk. I personally recommend just getting a spare set. They're about 10 bucks at Walmart. And you just replace them for Passover. That's it. Just have a Passover set. Otherwise, if you want to scrub them down, you know, and burn them or something, it's just better to just do that. And that's pretty much that. As far as the rest of the surface of your stove, you just got to be careful not to put your pots down on there on Pesach. So clean it well with bleach spray and try not to put stuff down on there, or cover it with aluminum to sort of isolate it. As far as a gas stove, so that's pretty good as well. I mean, you know, you've got those grates that hold up your pot. So turn on your gas and turn a fire on and leave it on for about 5-10 minutes till that grate gets about as hot as it's going to get. Preferably, if you could put those grates in your oven during self-clean, that's even better. But clean off your grates, turn on the heat, and again, you're dealing with the surface of the stove, which is preferable to cover with some aluminum, heavy-duty aluminum for the rest of Pesach, in case you are liable to put a pot down in that space. As far as the ceramic, which is pretty common, the ceramic stoves, they're kind of a problem. I had one for many years. I called my rabbi, and he's like, I don't know what to tell you. I ended up buying plug-in electric burners for Pesach, which I think I gave away recently because I replaced my stove, my stove with something else. Again, if you have no choice, what you would do is you would turn the burners on high for a few, 15-20 minutes, and then cover the rest of the surface. It's kind of iffy. I would say that's your best bet, but it's not ideal. So if you're willing to go the extra mile, if you've got one of those ceramic stove tops, then maybe try to get one of those plug-in burners that you can buy and just have that for Pesach. As far as sinks, sinks are a complicated issue in the sense that they're not as challenging as other things, meaning it's kind of difficult to figure out where the issue would be. It's mostly with dealing with hot water coming out of your faucet and your Passover dishes sitting in the sink. So we generally do kosher it because you are liable to get into issues of putting your Passover dishes in the sink with hot water. So generally what you do is you take a pot of boiling water, or an urn, which has been heated up, and take it to your sink and pour the boiling water over every spot. Now, what I mean by over every spot is, instead of just pouring it and letting it all flow everywhere, you kind of want to move the pot around, or move the urn spigot around, so that it's touching pretty much, as the water falls, it's touching every spot. You're sort of moving around, sort of concentric circles over there, till you hit everything. Some people also try to get it over the faucet head. It's questionable how necessary that is. And that's pretty much it. If you don't really want to go through all that, you could theoretically get yourself a sink insert, like a bowl, one of those sink pans, and just make sure, just when you put your dishes in the sink on Passover, that you put it in that pan, and you don't let the stuff sit in the sink itself. And if it does, it's really not the end of the world. But practically speaking, that's how you deal with a sink. And it's pretty much the same for your counters. Some people will cover their entire counter, and they will have a kitchen that looks like the Starship Enterprise, by covering every surface in aluminum, or whatever you cover with. Honestly, you can cover your counter with whatever you like. It doesn't really matter. Or some people will kosher their counters, and your counter depends on the nature of the surface. Most surfaces can be koshered the same way the sink was, which is by getting boiling water or an urn and directly pouring hot water on every spot. This is not pleasant for a lot of people. It could be dangerous, challenging, not simple. So what I would recommend is go onto the kosher websites, whether the Atlanta Kosher Commission or various others like the OU, and they will have a guide to tell you based on what your counter surface is, what your options are for koshering. In some cases, you don't really have an option, in which case you'll cover your counters with whatever you decide to cover them with, and then you're good. As far as kitchen tables, make sure you swap out your tablecloths. Some people have a custom to have a two-layer cover. Some people have a three-layer cover, like 3 tablecloths on top of the table. Whatever your custom is, and that pretty much covers it.